Notable Nigerian leaders or senior figures who escaped coup or assassination or abduction attempts. We have Olusegun Obasanjo on the 13th February 1976, Dimka coup. Murtala Mohammed was assassinated in the Dimka coup. Obasanjo, then Chief of Staff, Supreme Headquarters, narrowly avoided death because of a delay that morning, and loyal officers who intervened. He was late leaving his quarters and was not where the assassins expected him to be. OBJ has fondly called on Sunday survived the February 1976 military coup d'etat involving Lieutenant Colonel Bukar Dimka. It was General Olu Bajowa, retired, that indirectly saved him from being killed in the coup. The former head of state gave the revelation at the celebration of the 80th birthday of General Bajowa held in Igbotako Okitipupa local government area of Ondo State. He described Bajowa, a former commandant, Command and Staff College Gaji, as a respectful and cultured man. During the ceremony, the former president told the audience a story of how he was indirectly saved from being killed during the coup. Obasanjo said, "I want to say something about Olu. Either Olu knew it or he didn't know. When Dimka coup came, if Olu had not been what he is, I would have gone with the coup. Olu is very respectful. He is very conscious of our culture. He had a child, a boy, and wanted to name the child after me. He had to call me early in the morning, and that morning, Dimka struck. And because Olu said he was coming, I had to wait a little bit. I waited beyond the time I would have gone out. Olu then came. He made the request, and I granted the request. So I was a little bit late in going on the route that I normally took to work. And Renu Muje went ahead of me, and they thought it was me, and they shot his car. They shot his car. Murtala was shot. Indirectly, that is how Olu Bajowa saved my life." Then we have Yakubu Gowon on the 29th of July 1975, the coup that removed Gowon. Gowon was overthrown while attending the OAU summit in Kampala. Being abroad, attending the summit meant he avoided an on-site assassination or arrest and thus survived the change of power. The 1975 Nigerian coup d'etat was a bloodless military coup which took place in Nigeria on 29th of July 1975 when a faction of junior armed forces officers overthrew General Yakubu Gowon, who himself took power in the 1966 counter-coup. Colonel Joseph Nanven Garba announced the coup in a broadcast on Radio Nigeria, which became FRCN in 1978. At the time of the coup, Gowon was attending the 12th Organization of African Unity (OAU) Summit in Kampala, Uganda. The coup plotters appointed Brigadier Murtala Mohammed as head of state and Brigadier Olusegun Obasanjo as his deputy. The coup was motivated by unhappiness of junior officers at the lack of progress Gowon had made in moving the country towards democratic rule, while Garba's role as an insider is credited with ensuring that the coup was bloodless. Mohammed, whose policies and decisiveness won him broad popular support and elevated him to the status of a folk hero, stayed in power until 13th February 1976 when he was assassinated during a coup attempt. Obasanjo succeeded him as head of state. Then we have Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, IBB, 22nd April 1990, Gideon Orka coup attempt. Rebel troops attacked Dodan Barracks, where Babangida was present. Loyal guards, aides and senior officers evacuated him via back route and secreted him to safety. The coup failed and Babangida remained in power. The 1990 Nigerian coup d'etat attempt was a military coup attempt which took place in Nigeria on 22nd April 1990 when a faction of armed forces officers led by Major Gideon Orka attempted to overthrow the government of General Ibrahim Babangida, who himself took power in the 1985 coup d'etat. Rebel troops seized the FRCN radio station and various military posts around Lagos, including the military headquarters and presidential residence, the Dodan Barracks. Babangida was present when the barracks were attacked but managed to escape by a back route. In the coup address, Oka called for the excision of 5 northern states of Nigeria. He accused Babangida of planning to install himself as Nigeria's life president, accused the federal military government of marginalization of the people of Niger Delta and the entire southern part of the country. In his letter addressed to the nation through a live broadcast at around 4 a.m. of April 22, 1990, they made a stunning announcement expelling indigenous people of far northern states of Bauchi, Borno, Katsina, Kano, and Sokoto from Nigeria. Analysts have argued that part of the reason for the coup failure was the ethnic undertone and bias that accompanied their coup speech broadcast. Also, the amateurish exercise of citizens of the core north away from military and civil life was naturally going to divide the same people whose support they would have needed, especially at such an infant stage of their coup plot. In fact, military officers of northern extraction rallied in support of the FMG when they found out it was a plot targeting their very existence. Although the coup was identified to be masterminded by Major Gideon Oka, the trial of the April 22, 1990 coup and other evidences show that he was just a conduit and not the original mastermind behind the coup. The ideological arrowheads of the coup were Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Yam, Major Saliba Mukoro, Major Cyril Obaho, and it was only in the latter stages of the coup that Oka was recruited into the plot. It must also be said that millionaire businessman Chief Great Oveji Ogboru was the top financier of the coup. Sani Abacha. Of the year 1997, alleged plot involving Oladipo Diya and others. Multiple sources and retired officers later described plans to abduct or force Abacha out in 1997. His loyal security and early warning from supporters reportedly blunted the plot, and Abacha stayed in power until his death in 1998. Major Seun Fadipe, retired, a former Chief Security Officer (CSO) to the late Lieutenant General Oladipo Diya, has disclosed how General Sani Abacha narrowly escaped a planned coup in 1997. The late head of state was reportedly the target of a plot by Diya and others to abduct him in Enugu and force his resignation. Speaking during an interview on Channels Television's Inside Sources with Laolu Akonde, Fadipe revealed that the coup plan was foiled after Abacha, apparently tipped off about the plot, cancelled his trip to Enugu at the last minute. According to Fadipe, who served as CSO to Diya, the Chief of General Staff at the time, the plan was for Abacha to be captured during the Chief of Army Training Conference in Enugu. If he had gone to Enugu on December 9, 1997, he would have been arrested and forced to resign, leading to a change of government, Fadipe said. Over to Shehu Shagari, 31st December 1983, coup that brought Buhari to power. During the December 1983 coup, the team assigned to arrest or detain Shagari ran into operational problems, including the death of their ringleader at a roadblock, which meant Shagari initially avoided immediate assassination. He was, however, arrested and later detained under the new regime. The Nigerian military coup that toppled President Shehu Shagari on December 31, 1983, marked a significant shift in the country's political landscape. Shagari's presidency, which began in 1979, was characterized by widespread corruption, economic decline, and political unrest, which exacerbated by the global oil glut. Despite initial support, Shagari's administration struggled with mismanagement and rigged elections, leading to discontent among the populace and military alike. The coup was orchestrated by senior military officers who cited the need to address Nigeria's severe economic crisis and restore order. Major General Muhammadu Buhari emerged as the new head of state, following the coup, promising a campaign against indiscipline and corruption. However, Buhari's regime, while initially popular, resorted to strict measures to suppress dissent, leading to tensions that would persist in Nigeria's political history. The events surrounding Shagari's outstanding and subsequent military rule reflect the complex interplay of ethnic politics and governance in Nigeria, as well as the ongoing struggle for democracy in the nation. This coup not only reshaped Nigeria's short-term governance, but also left enduring imprint on its political evolution, continuing to influence the country's leadership dynamics in the decades that follow. Ernest Shonekan of 17th November 1993, Abacha's palace coup. Shonekan was forced to resign in a quick palace coup by Sani Abacha. He was not killed. The coup was effectively a bloodless removal rather than an assassination. The 1993 Nigerian coup d'etat was a bloodless military coup which took place in Nigeria on 17th November 1993 when the armed forces, headed by Defense Minister General Sani Abacha, who forced interim President Chief Ernest Shonekan to resign. Shonekan assumed the interim presidency on 26 August 1993, succeeding General Ibrahim Babangida as head of state in the aftermath of Babangida's annulment of the 12th June 1993 presidential election. In a nationwide broadcast following the coup, Abacha cited the stagnant nature of Shonekan's government and his inability to manage the democratic process in the country as a cause of his resignation. In September 1994, Abacha issued a decree that placed his government above the jurisdiction of the courts, effectively giving him absolute power. Another decree gave him the right to detain anyone for up to 3 months. Abacha then stayed in power until his death on 8th of June 1998 at the presidential complex Aso Villa in Abuja. He was succeeded by the Chief of the Defense Staff, Major General Abdulsalami Abubakar, as head of state. Major General Muhammadu Buhari as head of state 1983 to 85, or later as civilian president. Various plots and upheavals. Buhari himself took power in a coup 1983 and was later overthrown in 1985. During his time as head of state and later as a civilian president, he faced threats and plots but survived them, often through loyal military or security networks and by being detained rather than executed when overthrown.